and welcome to Joseph's Model Railway and Toy Room. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, a bit of housekeeping. You don't need to like, follow, or subscribe. Just put the videos out there where I can. Have a whole bunch of fun doing so. In this particular video, we're going to be having a chat about a Matchbox vehicle. But just before we do, I want to just put this out, and I'm sure I'm going to mention it time and time again on other videos. Whether we're talking about Matchbox vehicles, Hot Wheels vehicles, trains, Care Bears, Transformers, Lego, it doesn't matter what it is. Many people, when I'm talking to them about collections that I do, of course, there's always the number one. Even on the Hi-Fi channel, people will say, oh, so what's your favorite record? What's your favorite this? What's your favorite that? I'm sorry. That's sort of like saying to a collector, if you've got to take one thing with you to the next world, are you going to be taking your Hot Wheels cars or your Matchbox cars? Can't I just take both? And this is the world that we live in. It's hard for me to quantify sort of the ultimate must-take item with me into another universe. So as a result, for the most part, I can't really give you my favorites of everything. What I can do is at least bring you down into the world sometimes of at least a top 10, maybe even a top 3. And that's exactly what this video is going to be about today. It may not be my absolute favorite Matchbox, but it's in a position where I can't say it's not. So at least I have to say to you, this is going to appear in my top 10 favorite Matchboxes of all times. And what do we have? This is the Matchbox MB50. That's M for Mike, B for Bravo, 50. And as we've got here, this wonderful four-wheel drive, which is how I'd refer to it in Australia. Of course, SUV in the American terms and all the other things we can use as well. But what we've got here, as I would know it, is as a police vehicle. But of course, it is a sheriff and it does have the code on it, SP7. Sheriff Patrol 7? Don't know. Doesn't really matter. Now, this isn't my pride and joy that I've played with for many, many years. I actually just purchased another one to shoot this video with. However, I will just say this. I did need to find one that was in the original box that it came in the 80s. But also, I just wanted to take note that while this one is in a fair condition in the box, the yellow stripe across it is supposed to be slightly yellower. However, we've got to make do with what we have, as it's not quite that easy jumping into a time machine and going back to the 80s. So it's a 4x4 Chevy Blazer. I'll bring that in and hope that the camera can try and focus in for you a little bit. And as you can see, it's fantastic. What I really liked about this type of packaging, it's my favorite. I mean, of course, it's a box. The Matchbox vehicle is in a box. Of course, traditionally there wasn't the top bit here for where we could put in the shop display and put the hook in. And in the cabinets I remember them in, they were all neatly stacked up. And the vehicles were displayed. Mine came from the William Street News Agency in Whyalla, which I believe may no longer exist. And the Matchboxes were all on display in a wonderful cabinet, and when you chose the one you want, they actually had to open the drawer underneath, get the box out and match it up and put it in. But what I just wanted to quickly say about the box actually is more to do with the first time I had received probably the Datsun 180Z, but more notably was probably the Nissan 300 ZX. For those of you that know about it, it was a grey vehicle and the bonnet open, and perhaps we'll talk about it in another one. Why am I telling you about this in the packaging? Well, I've got to do it because what was so good, particularly about that car, about that vehicle as opposed to this one, was the fact that when you open the box up, as we bring the packaging open, and we bring down this tremendous little ramp to bring our vehicle out with, was the fact that, let's just albeit that it was the 180 in there, you could comfortably slide in the 300 ZX straight underneath. And all of a sudden, you were carrying two vehicles in the same box. Very convenient when you went to go and visit relatives. I thought so anyway. But let's bring this magnificent machine out and have a quick chat about it. So here it is. And what we'll do, we'll come in for some nice close-up pictures and I'll keep talking. So what we've got here is a magnificent vehicle. Tinting on mine was actually a little bit darker than this, and what I always appreciated is this would be a pretty luxury ride of the 80s. I went so far as to like to think that my particular model, as I was driving it around, did have electronic climate control with that beautiful luminescent green glowing that was set to a lovely cool 23 degrees inside, nice and air conditioned. Bearing in mind, I grew up in a place where it did hit 45 degrees on a regular basis. So we've got this luxury vehicle, and we also have a tow bar. So anyone that was collecting and playing with their Hot Wheels or Matchbox cars will know how invaluable a tow bar is to be towing trailers around and doing things. So we did have that, so score there. We don't have an actual bull bar on the front. I did have another one. It's a black and red one that was a clone of this. I just remember stamped on the top in the MS Broadway touring script that we put on flight cases was printed 28. It also had a rear bull bar featuring jerry cans and everything else, but I have not had any luck finding it, and it had tremendous suspension, but that's where it did fail. Back to this particular vehicle, so no bull bar, but it does have a winch, so it's got all those cool things we'd expect, and the pipes coming out on the side, fantastic. So while I adore the vehicle and love driving it around and proudly had it parked in front of the police station on my Hot Wheels and Matchbox play mat, why are we talking about this video today in this series? Because it's one little gripe that has always driven me crazy, and you're staring it in the face right now. It's our magnificent whip antenna. And usually when it came out of the box, even when you bent it and put it back, it's not the way it's meant to look. So I thought we'd talk about in this video if we can correct this pet peeve problem of mine and see what we can do for all those people that may still have this vehicle and that still have the antenna attached.
So for those of you that don't know, I'm referring to these whip antennas. A big thank you to my brother for sharing this image from his work truck. So various communication antennas. In fact, here's a beauty with a highway patrol car in Australia. And if you want to know what they all do, just go back and hit pause. Tell you all about them. The VL Commodore. What a marvelous car that is. In fact, we can't go any further without saying here's Peter Brock and the VL Commodore, the director. Great car. If you don't know much about it, get online, check it out, and check out the polarizer. Now, here we are. Here's our car. So the first attempt I thought we'd do is just disconnect this antenna. And beside me, I just put in the jug some water and we boiled it. And I thought boiling hot water, we should be able to get the shape back into it. It's just a piece of plastic really at the end of the day. So this should sort it out. Now, after a moment, I did drop it and I needed to reset it. I thought I'd take some time there to clean up this particular model. It was pretty filthy. So that's just what we're doing here, giving it a nice clean up while it's sitting in that boiling hot water, softening up. Unfortunately though, as we pull it out, the boiling hot water really didn't do anything at all to it as I tried to manipulate it. It was exactly the same, so clearly this wasn't going to work. The next approach is to take a series of these alligator clips and then come up with a bit of a howdy-doody. Solvol. That may well be the last bar of soap there is. They don't make it anymore. It's a fantastic product, but now we have to buy it in a liquid form. All right, so we've strung it together and we've added an alligator clip down the bottom just to weight it down. These are the same alligator clips that you will find when you're detailing your models. Very cheap to buy. We're going to take a heat gun, and as you can see now, just a light dusting of some heat across it, and we're getting some instant results. The downside is, though, I didn't quite have the base of the antenna that's located at the top of this picture grabbed in the right spot. So it's still not quite the way I want it. Needless to say, we're getting some good results. So what I thought I might just do is reposition it so it is in the correct orientation, reapply the heat gun, and you'll just see it here just straightening out very, very nicely. Doesn't have to be 100% perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now present to you the final product.
ladies and gentlemen, that now does conclude this video. And I think we can summarize it perfectly by just having a look at Wilhelm II in this remarkable clip. And he really does say it all.
Yippee, whippy, whippy. Okay, easy.
Yes, well, that's it for once again another great video. Girls and boys, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Stay safe and we'll see you in the next one. Toodles!